Hello, my name is Caleb, and this is my Critical Task 2 ELL case study. My ELL student was named Yasser. He is from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He speaks Arabic as is the official language of Saudi Arabia. He's studying English at UNF as part of the EOP program, or the English language learning, the English language program. He came as part of a Saudi military program, which will allow him to one day work with the U.S. Navy. Um, but to do that, he had to learn English. So he was paid by the Saudi military to come and learn English here at UNF. He has already been here for 16 months, and some things about him is that he loves soccer, watching it, and playing the soccer video game FIFA. Although he definitely calls it football, um, which it is known most of the world. So let's begin. So a little bit about Saudi Arabia. It is in the Middle East on the Arabian Peninsula. As you'll see here in the presentation, I have the Saudi Arabian flag along with a picture of Jeddah, which is right along the Red Sea, as you can see on the little map picture. And that is where Yasser is from. It's a very growing city and very wealthy because of the oil that Saudi Arabia has. Um, Yes, let's continue. Uh, so we'll move into the deep culture part of my project. I chose to do family ties because I thought the family culture in Saudi Arabia was very interesting and different from my own. Families there are very, very collectivist, as opposed to the US, which is individualistic. Um, and Yasir even said, me being in the US, they, referring to his family, are missing me. So that kind of shows a little bit of like their collective nature. Collective being that they stick together. It's very family oriented. It's not about reaching individual goals or achieving things for yourself, but rather improving everything for the family. Um, Another deep culture part of family over there is the elders, especially family members, are extremely well respected. Teenagers have to respect their family and their parents. They must respect them. Something that Yasser told me during our interview. One of the other things that I noticed was that it was common for children to grow up and remain with their parents. Yasser told me that students would even, not students, but children would even remain with their parents until the age of 60, which I was shocked by because most students here in the US leave their households very soon after they turn 18. Another part of uh, deep culture in Saudi Arabia that I wanted to look at was religion. I already knew, as most people do, that Saudi Arabia's official religion is Islam. Over 99% of the population is Muslim. There's basically nothing there except for the religion of Islam. It's monotheistic. They worship Allah. Allah is not actually the name of God. Allah is the literal translation of the word God. So just like Christians say, "Oh, I worship God," and that's like the same thing as saying, "Oh, I worship Allah." It's the Arabic word for God. Their prophet Muhammad is the founder of the faith, who spoke the Quran and had it written down. And then they have the five pillars, which are like five rules, commands that they have to follow. That includes the prayers during the day, the Hajj, which is like the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is the picture shown where they go to pray and commune as a whole. And Muslims travel from all over the world to go to Mecca. Only Muslims are allowed in Mecca. And another thing that I noticed, even with Yasser, before coming to the U.S., the idea of an atheist, of someone who doesn't believe in God, is foreign to him. It's really considered ludicrous. So I knew that would impact him when coming to the U.S. And also the because of the religion there, how that plays out with clothing and women wearing very uh, covering clothing and not like no skin being shown. But then coming here to the US and women wearing clothing, and even guys as well, wearing clothing that reveals a lot of skin would be something that could have a great effect on Yasser and other students from Saudi Arabia. Moving on to education. The teaching and learning style of Saudi Arabian schools was actually pretty similar. Similar classroom setup, as you see in the picture, the desks are in rows facing the front. It's very lecture heavy, which is similar to some teachers here in the US. There is some group work, and the tests are cumulative. The instructional setting is very different because classes are divided based on gender. So as you'll see in this picture, all the students are girls. And in the previous picture, all the students are guys. So the genders divide the schools. They do, however, wear uniforms like private schools in the US. And the teachers are assigned, obviously, male teachers with male classrooms and female teachers with female classrooms. Yasser said the average class that he had was 40 students, which is considerably higher than classes here in the States, which range between like 20 and 30 students. The school day goes from about 7:30 to 1 p.m., which is about an hour and a half shorter than my schooling was, although school times differ throughout the US. I'm sure they do in Saudi Arabia as well. And like here, lunch is eaten during school. Enrichment activities. They have just instituted physical education classes. They do have sports teams where they compete against other schools. That is mainly for guys. They do not, however, have any art classes, unlike the US, which has various art classes, pottery classes, music, depending on what school you go to. But there's always some form of art class. And they do also have field trips. Yasser told me they were often to museums or other similar places. And for classroom management, corporal punishment is allowed, which to me was kind of shocking. It showed me how much stricter school was in Saudi Arabia. And Yasser said, if a student is talking while the teacher is, then he made a slap noise motion in the back of his head, they will get hit. This was like not shocking because I had heard of this before, but also I told him that if this happened in the States, the teacher would surely be fired. So that's a huge difference between Saudi and American schools. Teachers will also report those troublesome students to their parents, and if they need to, schedule a parent-teacher meeting, which is very similar to what would happen in the States, where a parent might get a call from a teacher about their student acting up in class. However, the corporal punishment part is not allowed here. As far as the student teacher parent relationship goes, it varies greatly. Teachers can be friendly or not, just like teachers here in the States. Um, Yasser said he had experienced teachers who would tell them a lot of stories and were very kind and caring, and had other teachers who were not so. Um, and elders are respected, as we talked about earlier, and this same respect gets passed on to the teachers. So teachers are very highly regarded there, unlike teachers here, who can often be looked down on by society. And teaching is not a very high profile job like other jobs here. So that is one thing that's unique and I think cool about Saudi culture in terms of education. And the parents' role in education varies just like it does here. Some parents are going to be super involved, almost too involved, and some parents are not going to be involved at all. Language. So this is my log as I went through and wrote out the English phrases and sentences and had Yasser to translate them. I ended up typing them up just to make them easier to see, especially with the Arabic script. That was hard to see in the handwriting. The Arabic writing system is a very different alphabet. They do not use the Roman alphabet. Instead, they use their own Arabic script, which is actually not only used in Arabic, but several other languages from that same region of the world. It's read not from left to right like we are used to, but it's the opposite direction from right to left. There is no capitalization and there is little emphasis on punctuation. The phonology of uh, Arabic is also different from English because English has three times as many vowels. As a result of that, it can be difficult for Arabic speakers to differentiate between subtle words that we have in English, like bit and bet, or bot and but, which are very similar, but because we have more vowel sounds, they're very difficult for them. Another difficult thing for Arabic speakers is our th sound, the. Instead of saying I like this, a Arabic speaker will typically say I like this because that th sound is very difficult for them to say. They don't have it in Arabic. Instead, they have the z sound, so they say this rather than this. Uh, Vice versa, they have sounds that are very difficult for us as well. Sounds that are uncommon, like a glottal sound, which is like in your throat. So, for the example that I have on the screen, ta versus toh, toh. That sound, that toh sounds, comes from your deep throat, and we do not usually use sounds like that in English. Morphology, they have possessive markers just as we do in Arabic, and you can see they're highlighted there on the screen. The little yellow mark is the where the punctuation, I mean, excuse me, where the possessive marker is. Um, and then for the plural markers, as you can see, the for boats or boat, the word arib or karib is the singular form of the word boat, and then for the two boats, it's added. There's added the Anthony Min and even addition to the Arab word, and in three boats, the Thala- th- I don't, I cannot pronounce it. I'm doing my best. It was very hard to diagram because of how different the script was to me. But still, you see, it's clear to see that they have the plural um, conjugations and changes as we do. Um, However, unlike us, they do have masculine and feminine differences in their speech, um, unlike us, whereas we have none. They're similar to Spanish with some nouns having masculine, either being a masculine or feminine form. And as far as articles go, they do have one. The primary one is al, which is used like a the. So like the boy is al walad, or the house is al beit. And if it looks like it's backwards, like it's Beit Al, remember that it's read the opposite direction. So you can see the highlighted article or Arabic letter it is written first because they read from right to left. There were more cognates, which is two words that sound similar and typically have same roots, but are different languages, like algebra and alhibar, or gazelle and uh, Ghazaldala. Um, and I did not expect to see these similarities because I know there's such different languages, but some of the words have both come from the same root language. The syntax of Arabic is different from English as well. With English, we say subject, verb, object, whereas in Arabic, it's verb, subject, object. They also have some idioms that are very different from ours. The first one, the direct translation being hit the iron when it's hot, but the meaning is not to procrastinate, but to solve the problem. And then the second one, movement is a blessing, meaning exercise is good. Like some of the crazy idioms we have in English as well. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. Uh, this is a common farewell in Saudi Arabia where they say with peace. Thanks. Goodbye.